Hello, everyone. After a long gap, we are back. Hello,
Our
Ella.
our longest gap yet, but we thought no better time to reinstate the pod than with a Lions tour, the true meeting of the Northern and Southern Hemispheres.
Absolutely. So, how have you been?
We've been good, prepping for, wow, it's a big year of rugby for everyone. The French are about to arrive on our shores. I've seen that Scotland have just arrived to take on the Māori All Blacks as well.
Yeah.
And obviously World Cup year for our Black Ferns. So much rugby, as always. How about yourself? A few adventures this Lions season?
Yeah, a couple of adventures. Went to Dublin for the Lions against Argentina, which was awesome. It was great to see that game. I was saying to you before we started, sad indictment of the Dublin crowd. That's the best atmosphere I've heard at the Aviva for years, literally.
What kind of made it so good, do you think?
Do you know what? It was when you go to a Six Nations game, because there's expectation on the team now, the atmosphere can actually get a little bit tense, because if Ireland don't start winning in the first 10 minutes, the crowd can start to turn a little bit, which is something we never used to have, because the expectations were never that high. But for the Lions, it just felt like everyone was there for a good time. And I suspect also that, when Ireland went to the World Cup and tickets were available just on a general sale, the atmospheres were incredible because it was just fans. But for a lot of the Six Nations games, it's a lot of corporates. It's the reality of running a union. You got to make money. But for the Lions, I think as well, it was just fans getting tickets, and the atmosphere was amazing.
It looked unreal, and despite a loss as well. So
but I mean, it's not really about the result, is it?
Oh yeah.
Plus, I honestly didn't think so. Plus, I love Argentina. It was great to see Argentina do well, and now they've had that. I was thinking about this the other day. I need to do some research, but outside of sort of the top teams where you're supposed to come in as a coach and just win every game, has anyone ever had as good of a first year as Contapombi has as a coach?
So good.
And a top player as well. They don't always make the best coaches, and he's come in and just smashed it.
Unreal. It's almost like the same as Adi Savia with Moana Pacifica on a play.
Yeah, but it's the same kind of thing. It's just inspirational national hero comes in and just drags everybody along with him.
Honestly, true. By the bootlaces. No, it's been very impressive. And a great game to boot. So
yeah. Lots to work on for the Lions, but they were better again at the weekend, and they'll be better again on Wednesday, and hopefully we get some good test matches.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah. With that in mind, do we delve into the very first game of the 2025 British National Lions Tour of Australia?
Yeah. There was a lot to talk about, I thought. They were kind of underwhelming in the first half, but clinical. They took their chances. Finn Russell is so good. I
love Finn Russell.
I can't believe there are Finn Russell haters out there. How does that happen?
What is wrong with you people?
Yeah, he was brilliant. The Force were very good in the first half, though.
This was my thing, because my partner came home partway through the second half, and it was not looking good by that point. No. But I was like to him, he was like, what was the halftime score? And I said 21-7. He was like, oh, they're getting spanked. And I was like, no, it was competitive. It was competitive. And mainly it was Dylan Peach holding that team on his shoulders.
Oh, he was so good. I thought Paenga Mosa was amazing as well.
Obviously Peach is in the squad, but Paenga Mosa not. But two Wallabies adjacent players really standing up. And I guess that's the part of it, right? This is your opportunity to stake your case. You get kind of 2 bites at the cherry.
Yeah, I saw Peach's post-match interview. Apparently he was fuming with the coaches when he got taken off, and he had a little strop. And he seems like, after the game, such a relaxed character. I thought it was such a funny contrast where he's like, yeah, I had to apologize to everybody. I'm sorry about that. It just seems like a nice bloke.
He wanted the full 80. 80.
He was playing so well. I thought he was unreal in November as well. When he came in, he's proper nuggety, isn't he? Really hard to put down, picks his lines, just looks like a really good player.
Yeah, he's unreal. And it was a little bit of a tale of 2 wingers, I thought, at times. You've had Peach coming out of the blocks hot as, and then on the other hand, you had Hansen, who was, slow into the game.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of commentary after about how he was exactly what Andy Farrell wanted to see, of kind of playing your way back into form. It was really impressive.
Yeah. He didn't have the best first half, did he? But the other thing is, people get very critical over small things. Hansen brings certain strengths to the team, which you massively saw in the second half. He's not in there to go and make big hits or anything like that. That's not his game. But in terms of work rate, in terms of his ability to link up play and create things, you can see why Farrell likes him so much. He is a special boy, though, isn't he? He loves him.
He is a special boy. Did you see the article? I think he'd done an interview with someone in Australia, and he said that he wasn't going to give any of his family from Aussie free tickets unless they wore Lions jerseys.
That's funny. And that's pretty classic him.
Yeah, fair enough, I say.
I think so too. Like, you got to get on board. He went halfway around the world.
It's a long way to go.
Exactly.
Dedication.
Exactly. I'm trying to think what else was the standout. Pollock.
We must talk about young Henry Pollock.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were a Southern Hemisphere fan and that was kind of the first you saw of him, you would be so impressive. Obviously, he had his moments, both good and maybe not so good. I think the yellow,
I don't know.
5 minutes earlier, like probably a little bit
also harshly done to be penalized. In the there were times where he was like reaching over the top of the ruck, and I see why he got penalized. But for that one, I actually thought like maybe good turnover.
Maybe such as rugby sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, he was unreal. It's his pace.
Yeah.
It's truly his pace that sets him apart, and you cannot help but make comparisons to a young Ardie Savia.
You really can't. Like you really can't. And I mean, it's the chip and chase. It's the fact that his game is so rounded as well, and like. What I love about him is he plays right on the line. So like he does give away pens, and he's young. So sometimes there are errors. I'm sure he just gets kind of overexcited. But like even in games where his error count is quite high, when Northampton knocked Leinster out of the Champions Cup in the semi-finals, he gave away like 6 penalties in that game. But he was so good otherwise. The good far outweighed the bad. And that's usually how it is with him. Like, there's so much to like and so much to get excited about every time you watch him play.
Oh, 100%. And it's about those moments, right? Like it's about turning the momentum. He's a player who can do that. And a coach is totally willing to put up with a few penalties here and there if you're going to win a big moment and completely turn the game on his head, which is what he has done now and proven at a senior level in such a short space of time.
100%. Like, it's crazy to think he was playing in the, we're both sort of chatting to people who are at the 20s in different capacities. It's amazing to think he was at the 20s last year. And that is
and that was, when he kind of broke out there and he
was unreal as well last year.
And everyone was calling, could we see him? And look where we are a year later. It's so hectic. I saw he was he gets ribbed 24/7, but he had done one of those interviews with TNT Sport or something where you have to rank players or pick your favorite players.
Yeah, and it didn't make you feel old. He didn't know who anybody was.
Not that one. But I did see that, and it made me feel old. And sometimes I feel like people look at me and go, "You make me feel old," because But no, it was one where he had to rank players for certain skills, and it was like leadership. He chose Sia Khaleesi. Something he chose Richie McCaw, and then they asked him rugby IQ, and I think to me his answer demonstrated how differently new generations of players think about that. Like I feel like your typical answer is like a Bowden Barrett, able to see the game differently, a visionary, that sort of thing. But I think what he meant with his answer was like someone who thinks about maybe marketing the game differently or engaging in the game differently. The answer was Rieko Ioane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, though, you don't hang about for as long as Rieko has in as difficult a position as Rieko does without a bit of smarts,
Also true. And I mean, maybe quite a similar story. Like Rieko was an All Black at 19,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But it spoke to, I think, the modern, who are the players that the young guns are looking up
to? Who do they look to? Exactly.
That's who they are. Yeah. So super interesting, but big fan of Henry Pollock over here.
Oh, yeah. Obviously. Yeah, me too. Like, been hyping him up on the channel all year. Speaking of another name that stood out, Joe McCarthy.
Oof.
Yeah,
he's always in the middle of the scrap, isn't he, though?
He is. He loves it. He absolutely loves it.
He's massive. Like, physically, just ginormous.
Yeah. And he's one of these players, like, he got a lot of stick during the Six Nations because, really, to be honest, I think it was the France game. He got a yellow card at, like, quite a crucial point in the game. And people then were really highlighting the fact that he does give away a lot of penalties because of the type of player he is. And, maybe just he wasn't on his best form in the Six Nations. I think he was just coming back from an injury. But, God, he looks good now.
Yeah.
He's very, very good at the weekend. And he's been good for Leinster as well recently.
And I think there'd been a few people that thought Locke was maybe quite locked down. Obviously, Mero is the captain.
Yeah.
And Joe McCarthy wasn't. He was obviously in the conversation because he was in the squad, but he was maybe more going to feature in those midweek games. Now you think he's pushed a very good case for himself early on. to be in that first test team.
I have a theory, and I think Elliot Daly's playing so well that I think they might be tempted to go 6-2 for the first test. And if they do, it would give McCarthy and Pollock the chance to force their way into the 23 because you've got those extra spaces. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if, like, McCarthy, I think, could even start. Because if you're picking your team for the Wallabies, you've got to do something about Skelton. So you need another big lad in there who can kind of handle him and try and rough him up a little bit. And so what if you started Itoje and McCarthy there, and then you brought Chesham off the bench so that you have, because if you start Byrne at 6, you've got the line-out option there at 6. You will have to rejig the line-out a little bit if McCarthy's in there. That's something that's Ireland have actually struggled with a bit over the last year. But yeah, like, just for the power, it could make a huge difference. He loves throwing himself about. He's clearly in good form. Yeah, I mean, it would be amazing to see him break in. You love seeing young lads getting a chance like that. And if Pollock could find himself on the bench, maybe, then yeah, fireworks.
And I mean, not to skip ahead too much, but we did see the unveiling in the Barbars Springboks game of the hybrid of another hybrid player, Andre Esterhausen, playing. Obviously he played 36 minutes on the flank, normally a back. Is Pollock? Could we see something very innovative and experimental? I think you could. He's just so rapid. He
definitely seems like someone who could do it. But the crazy thing is they've already got Earl, who's been doing that with England.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, if your 3 second/back row replacements were Chesham, Earl, Pollock, like that's a lot of dynamism, because Chesham's a brilliant carrier as well. That's a lot of dynamism to bring on in the second half of the game, where it's probably going to open up a bit, right, with the way the Wallabies play.
And that was the fair point, right, in this Force game. I just was sitting there going, unfortunately, look at who the Lions are bringing off the bench, and the Force are just straight up not going to be able to match them. You can't really argue with that.
No.
But that's where the fun can be had, right? It was a very entertaining half. And the Lions, like we said, cohesion obviously not there yet, 100%, but a market improvement from that Argentina game, and a frightening prospect, I think, moving forward with more games under their belt.
Oh, I think so. And just I think James Lowe has the left wing jersey. I think that's done. Duan has another chance this week, but just with the way he links up play, I think it's going to happen. And Van der Fleer was very, very good as well. Like, I don't know how they're going to pick that back row.
Yeah, well, and Jack Morgan was great in that Argentina game too, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he's playing again this week, so presumably he'll go out and put on another showing again. And it's I don't know how you're supposed to pick it, but
no, it's truly mouth-watering. What about? Yeah. I just feel like this is going to chase this man throughout his career, because I don't think anyone knows what to do with Marcus Smith. Any team.
Again,
do you know what I mean?
So good at 10. I just think at 15, because of the way the game has gone with like how important high balls are now, and because the aerial battle is so important, I just think it's unfair to stick him in there. He's not tall enough. He's going to be up against like 6 foot plus wingers all the time. And that's really, really difficult for him. I think he's such a good player. Like if they went 6'2" and he was the 2, I wouldn't bat an eyelid. Like the thing is if you bring him on at fullback, you are just saying to the opposition, we'll kick it high then.
Yeah, send it to Suoli'i down there.
Well, exactly. That's the thing though. Like that's also like a massive weapon for Australia. They used it in November so well. They can get field position straight off a restart, really high up the field, and then they can really hurt you. So I feel bad for him. I think it's amazing from his perspective that he can play multiple positions, and on the ball, as an attacking player, he's ridiculous. I just don't know if 15 suits him.
Yeah, I just don't feel like any team has yet been able to fully harness what Marcus Smith is.
Quins, but only Quins. Yeah, that's because they just throw it around, right? Like But maybe we'll see. He's not in the team this week, I don't think, but we'll see in one of the next warm up games. They might even give him a run at 10. And I think if they do, then you'll see the best of him.
It'd be cool to see him maybe in that, depending on, we obviously don't know too many of the players yet, but one of those invitational sides. We do actually, breaking news, I don't know if you saw, they've named the first 4 Kiwis who will be playing for the Australian.
I haven't. Who is it?
Okay, breaking news, everybody. Shannon Frizzell, David Harvey-Lee, oh my gosh, Folau Fakatava. Who am I missing? Sean Stevenson.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Some big names.
Yep, big names. No Richie Moe has been confirmed because he has injured his hand in the final of Japan League One. But an interesting 4 selections. players all at various stages of their career, onshore, offshore, in terms of New Zealand. But yeah, maybe Marcus Smith against the Oz New Zealand Invitational. That could be quite the matchup.
I would love to see that. So we should probably, for time, move on to the second game that we had on Saturday, which the Barbarians against South Africa.
Cute of them to post the exact same scoreline.
I know. It was crazy. I didn't even notice that on the day. Yeah, just a mauling.
in horrible conditions.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of like one of these ones. I feel like we've referenced it so many times. Like, just make it stop. Make it stop.
Yeah. Oh, no, it really was like that. And like, I made a video after the game, and I think people thought I was being critical of South Africa. I think they're entitled to approach these games however they want. But it's not a criticism of them. It's like, was this a good idea? I guess is the question. Because like the Barbarians have a week together, they're on the piss the whole time. It's meant to be loads of fun. You know, it's like a real honor and also a party week. And then you go out and you just get hammered by the best team in the world. Like, that is so tough. And they were South Africa were on it, like test match on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you say, like, you know, the game was over after like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was a little bit painful. You do wonder, because Rusty's obviously said that he wants to play a large number of games this year.
Yeah.
And you get the feeling it's probably to build his very large squad, you know, and get as many people getting as many minutes as possible. So I wonder if this was more of a Springboks, you know, wanting this to happen rather than the Barbars, I guess, like being able to travel to South Africa and play in front of a South African crowd and say you've lined up against the Springboks is really cool. But yeah, it was a bit of a dour fixture in the end, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. Like Peter O'Mahony, when he was lining up the Barbarians, I'm sure he wasn't thinking, I'm going to make 15 tackles and just get chased around the field all day. Him
and Sam Cane lining up together, though, that feels like a beautiful conclusion to the whole story.
Yeah. But imagine, like, the conclusion to the whole story is just getting wrecked by the Springboks for both of them.
Lying on the ground, like looked like he'd done his hip or something. I was like, this can't be how this ends.
Yeah, but I mean, like away from the general context of the game, South Africa was so good, you know.
Yeah, and all the usuals standing out. Do you know what I mean? Cheslin Colby, DLND,
the whole back line, like
Fussy.
They just have so many good players. Like I was thinking about, I think it's only really France who have like the depth of players.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the French team isn't as good as this Springbok team at the moment, but they do sort of have a similar depth, like with such a strong domestic league. But you know, if the French named a squad of 50, would it look as good and as stacked as the Springboks one does? I think probably not. It's just absurd how much talent they have. And like, you know, we haven't seen Aronsa so much in the URC because he's been in Japan. Just in case you forgot how ridiculously good he is. Colby smashing people, stepping people all over the place. Can you imagine being on the pints all week and then getting squared up by Cheslin Colby? Like you're not gonna catch him.
It was an interesting, you know, like it was quite a heavily New Zealand biased Barbars team. With a lot of kind of Super Rugby recruits. Mr. Flying Nuku coming back stopped off in Cape Town on his way back to New Zealand. But, you know, probably a bit of a rude awakening for some potential All Blacks prospects, you know, like Josh Jackham. He looked
poor old Josh Jackham. All the drops.
Probably also, to be fair to him,
slippery ball.
Slippery ball and probably hungover going into the week drinking. Super Rugby was last week.
Definitely. Like, Super Rugby party followed by Barbarians drinking, like the layering them on top of each other. The poor chap in the first half, it was tough for him, wasn't it?
It was really tough. And I did want to give a quick shout out to the South African commentators. I think it was John de Villiers might have been on the feed I was watching, nailing Jacob Ratumaitavuki-Neepkin's name, which was great. Love to see it.
I wouldn't even have attempted it. So fair play.
Once you get into a flow with it, it becomes quite rhythmic and easy. But I think the first time saying
that is actually true. The first couple of times I saw Feinberg and Gomazulu, I was just like, no, this is never going to happen.
I think a good lesson, practice, everybody, and then you can perform.
A shout out as well, Lou Dieger back.
Oh, huge.
In a long time. And he was ridiculous as well.
Massive presence. It's
just insane to think how many locks they have. Like, you know, there's just a lab somewhere in South Africa where they're just breeding these giant men.
Well, and I think I personally love to see a strong South African locking department, because that just feels on brand to me. I think growing up in the Matfield, Bucky's Botha era.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know, you're just like, this is pure South African rugby when they have these two huge locks who are just absolutely immense in every aspect of the game.
Just wrecking people everywhere.
100%.
Dave Ribbons, I thought, was really good for the Barbos. Speaking of big part South African locks, just smashing people everywhere. I thought he was really good.
Yeah. No, look, it's done now. The Barbos that one. They probably had enough drinks to forget it afterwards.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, they earned it. They earned it. They definitely worked,
100%. I don't know if it was Sam Whitelock's best introduction to the world of coaching, but
oh my God, his face the whole way through. He was genuinely gutted. You could see.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just so glad they scored. Can you imagine if they'd held them to zip? And again, when Jamine was getting through and Aronson made that burst to try and tackle him, that was Aronson was giving it everything. That wasn't the Barbarians. Let's let them have one. They really wanted to keep them out.
It's a mental thing, right? When you're that good, it's all about those tiny little details, those tiny fine margins, those tiny incremental increases and improvements. And I think the mental side of it is so clearly where they're aiming, building momentum.
I mean, if you're Rassi, right, and you've got that kind of high level view of it, you're the head coach. Obviously, they always say, one game at a time and all that kind of thing. But you've got your eye on 2027, right? If they won it again, 3 in a row, the motivation for them must be so high at the moment.
So high. You're competing with yourself, And
but you're undisputedly the best ever at that point, right?
There's
no one can argue. Even that great All Blacks team.
Yeah, no, couldn't argue with it.
3 in a row. No one could argue with that. So
no, except for, I know what the comments are going to say about this, but the Black Ferns won 4 in a row. So
okay, fine. But they are also unsurpassed in their area, right?
Yes.
I do think it's apples and oranges to compare. I think it's sort of
100%.
Diminishes both sides to compare. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, especially on the internet, because people invariably are going to be horrible about it. But yeah.
I got brace myself for impact in the comments. No, if the Springboks win 3 in a row, they win 2027. 100%, that is undisputed. That is a hectic achievement, and with the same coaching ticket. For the most part. And with potentially players who have played all 3.
Yeah, a bunch of players who will have been there for all 3. I mean, that would be something special.
It would be absolutely incredible, and I don't think anyone would be upset about it. She says, hoping.
Yeah.
Depends who's in the ball.
Gritting her teeth. Did you happen to catch any of the top 14 final?
I did not. But I saw that it was potentially one of the most hectic, chaotic madness
so
games
good.
ever.
It was so good. A brilliant game. Jack Willis, unbelievable for Toulouse. The number 8's name is escaping me now. Anthony Gelanche, amazing. Toma Ramos, it's so good. So very good. Yeah. And Toulouse got themselves into a 10-point lead in the second half, and you think, okay, game's done. But no, Bordeaux, mostly Maxime Luku, dragging Bordeaux back into it. I think he's getting his appreciation now this season because Dupont's been injured, but I think we've all just been sleeping on how good he is while Dupont's been smashing it. And then Bordeaux somehow came back into it, and then you get that extra time. But Ramos is he's flawless. His kicking's incredible. One of the better finals I've ever watched, for sure.
In a year where maybe the finals haven't necessarily, the grand finals across all the competitions, haven't necessarily lived up to the amazing, ridiculous games that have happened in the regular season or in the semis. But that is just a stab to the heart that I'm not going to see Thomas Ramos in New Zealand, unfortunately.
I got excited because I saw it being reported in the French press. They were going to let some of the players from the final go. And then they haven't picked any of the big names at all.
No. And I look, it's been absolutely trod to death. I've been on the camp of 1, are we surprised? No, France always do this. 2, it makes perfect sense in their ecosystem. And to be honest, I fear for the lives of some of those players with the amount of minutes they've played and their injuries.
Well, interestingly, in the final, Louis Bielbiaré, not himself at all. Had to go off. and I saw he has played an absurd number of minutes this season.
Yeah.
He's played so much rugby, and like there's, even these guys at the very, very top with all the sports science and living their lives exclusively to do this, there's a limit to how much you can do.
Exactly. And I think that's actually a far bigger player welfare conversation that we're not necessarily having as a sport. But yeah, I'm still looking forward to this French series. I think we're about to see some freakish French talent on display, some unearthing of new stars. The games are all, I think 2 of the 3 are sold out already. So like, I think the New Zealand public is excited. But yeah, there's a couple of players that I just know that I'm probably never going to see in my lifetime now, which is a shame.
There's still loads of class though. In that group, and lots of exciting young French players. So hopefully we see plenty from them. Yeah,
I think we will. Hopefully the weather holds up for some good clash of attacking rugby.
Yeah. They put like a 15 side out against England a couple of weeks ago, with a few of those players playing. And there's a guy, he was playing at lock in the Six Nations, Mikel Guillard. It was his first Six Nations. And they just picked him at number 8, and he was unreal. I had no idea he could play in the back row. So stuff like that, you'll be able to enjoy.
Yeah. Well, I think there's that. Do you know who Tom Spring is?
No.
Tom Spring? Oh, he's named in the squad, I'm pretty sure. And he's a Kiwi. I need to do some more research.
Oh, really?
We're doing fake news here. I'm pretty sure he's a Kiwi. So that's cool and fun. Welcome home, Tom.
I think Joshua Brennan's in there as well. So I think there's an Irishman or an Irish connection in there too.
Global sports.
Yeah, exactly.
We love.
Okay.
This week's game.
This week's game, yeah.
Should we run through? We've got respective team lists.
We have. Tell you what, I can have a look at the lines.
I'll do Reds.
I have lost the. Hang on, I've lost the team here. I think I remember it. Front row is. No, I don't remember. I don't remember who's at loose.
I'll do the Reds while Andy searches.
Okay.
So straight off the bat, the most exciting thing for me about this Reds team is the inclusion of Aiden Ross. For people who do not know, Aiden Ross was playing for the Chiefs a mere week ago. He was he played Super Rugby for the Chiefs in 2025. He became a Centurion for the Chiefs this year. But for 2025, he signed with the Queensland Reds. He's born in Australia, eligible for the Wallabies now. And since he signed for 2025, they said, hi, Demai, come over early. And now he's named to start against the Lions, which is super cool.
That was pretty amazing for him.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And just keep on rolling, the rugby keeps happening.
Yeah.
Pretty strong front row, I would say. Also Matt Faisler and Jeffrey Tumunga-Allen, who I believe now is he played for the Hurricanes against the Lions in 2017 and now is lining up for the Reds in 2025, which is cool. Also of note, probably Lukan Salakaya-Loto, not in the Wallabies squad initially named for Fiji, but he was injured towards the end of Super Rugby, so it'll be good to see him get a run out. Who else have we got that's in? Probably Junkyard Dog, Tim Ryan, Hunter Paisami's in there, Josh Fluke, Lockie Anderson, and Jock Campbell kind of rounding out the back line. So definitely an exciting squad, obviously lacking a fair few Wallabies, some very good ones in the name of McWright and Wilson. But yeah, that's the Reds. Who are the Lions?
Okay. So the Lions is Porter, Kelleher, and Stewart in the front row. Then we've got Itoje and Chesham in the second row. The back row is stacked. It's Jack Morgan, Tom Curry, and Jack Conan. 9-10 feels like the test combination. It's Gibson Park and it's Finn Russell. And very sadly, they announced that Thomas Williams has to go home with that hamstring injury, which is
gutting.
Yeah, I can't imagine how that feels as a player. Especially, he felt like he was building a bit of momentum. You know what I mean? He'd been playing well. He was good against Argentina when he came on. So yeah, very difficult for him. We wish him all the best. Very sad. And then Aki and Jones in the centre, Freeman and Van der Merwe on the wings, and Hugo Keenan able to start at fullback.
Very exciting to see Hugo Keenan back.
Yeah. Strong. Really strong bench as well. Kamandiki, Genge, Beelum, Ryan and Earl, and then Mitchell Smith and Ringrose. And it just because of the configuration of it, like it feels like the closest thing we've seen to potentially a starting test team with a couple of guys in there, I think, given a chance to prove themselves as well. But I think after the Force game, they'll be looking to make like a really fast start because the Force really managed to kind of stymie them in that first half at the weekend. So yeah, really, really intrigued.
Yeah, I think this is going to need to be a statement, or they'll want it to be a statement game for sure. I think it is coming right at that time on the tour, the Reds are the second best Australian team, that they'll want to be like, we're here to play, you've not got a chance against us, and put a bit of fear into those Wallabies. So an exciting matchup.
Exactly. And the journalists on the tour are advancing a theory that because it's the Reds and the Brumbies are the midweek games, and they're obviously the two toughest oppositions, and because after the Brumbies game, there's a 10-day gap then before the first test. So you could play on the Wednesday, you have the weekend off, and then the test match is the following weekend. So if you were going to choose, like, I'm going to pick my starters either midweek or weekend, it'll be the midweek team because it'll give them a chance to recover ahead of the first test. So the speculation is that if you're named in the midweek team going forward, that you're close or probably in that 23. So it'll be interesting to see if that plays out. I mean, it does make sense.
It's completely logical.
Yeah.
How dare someone suggest something so crazy? No. Well, and yeah, I think Thomas Williams probably one who was knocking on the door for sure. So super unfortunate for him. Alex Mitchell, handy, obviously. Yeah. JGP, been out for a while.
Yeah.
Been out for a little while.
Have to prove his fitness. And in that scenario, Ben White's been called up. He's only had to make the trip from New Zealand. In that scenario, like if Gibson Park, if he goes down in this game, all of a sudden there's 2 9s on tour, and you're potentially in the frame for a match day 23. So like it's crazy how quickly things change. Well,
even just to All Blacks perspective it a little bit, squad was announced on Monday. 2 days later, Wallace Satiti was announced as out for the series.
Yeah.
Today, Tamati Williams was announced as out for the series. So, it's just the attritional nature of Test rugby and potentially of Super Rugby we're seeing. Things can change in an instant. And Scottish players probably feeling the most, probably wringing their hands the most or getting the most excited because they're so close.
So. Yeah, because it's so easy to bring someone over, right? So, yeah, like more twists and turns to come. It's one thing you can always guarantee on a Lions tour, right? There's injury drama. The team that you have picked before the tour, 2 or 3 of those guys are always going to get injured, even if it's during the first test. So yeah, definitely more to come. But I'm just loving it so far. Like the morning match for us, the morning matches, like the sun's out. It's been ridiculously hot in England, so you've got beautiful days, morning rugby. Like this is what Lions tours are all about.
For me, it's about 10 p.m. kickoffs. So I'm like really dying by the end of it. I thought about staying up for the Barbarians Springboks game. That was a 3 a.m. kickoff. And I was like, oh, no, I can't. And then it was that eerie, creeping, familiar feeling of the test season, the international test season, and the horrific nature of the New Zealand time zone.
Well, on that happy note, I'm going to have to go to work.
How dare he?
I know. How dare I? But somebody's got to pay the bills. It's not my TikTok, I can tell you that. But yeah, great to catch up. And I mean, we've got plenty of time before the first test, but there will be more updates and more episodes actually coming your way.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for coming back. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hearing what we have to say.
Yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves. But nice one. No. We'll see you next time, guys.